Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. And yes, we have a lot of stuff going on here tonight. Let me go over some topics real quick, since I can talk faster than people drive at the Indy 500. Had a little bit of a mess, tongue-tied. Then again, don't I always do from time to time when I come up with creative analogies? Anyways, why would I even title a show Pitbull Stadium? Stick around and you'll find out. That'll be topic number one. We're going to also talk about Pitbull in a different form, but we're going to talk about him related to the University of Texas. We're going to have a new segment called The Coach's Focus, a new kickoff rule, quarterbacks in new places, and of course, a happy 99th birthday to Marv Levy. And finally, the Pro Football Hall of Fame inducted some new members. We're going to get into that. With that said, going right to left or top to bottom, whatever you want to call it, Coach Bono. Welcome back, buddy.
Hello, Scott. How are we doing? Bo, Travis, good to see you guys.
Yeah.
See you.
And Mel, welcome back.
Great to be back. Hello, everybody.
And Travis, look at all this red here. Oh, my goodness. I love the color scheme tonight. Travis, welcome back. And last but not least, Bo, welcome back.
Yep.
All right, let's get to it.
Section.
There you go. I love the color scheme. We have a little bit of everything today. We'll definitely mix it up. All right. And, I have a shirt called The Alliance, and that's exactly what we are, The Alliance tonight. Okay. Well, and that was actually an insurance company. The best thing about them was their shirts, because I never got much training in that industry from them. But the shirt was really good anyway, so I bought a few that actually fit. That's the, as Paul Harvey would say, that is the rest of the story. How many people of us know him? All right. International recording artist Pitbull has purchased the naming rights to FIU's football stadium, a 5-year deal, $1.2 million per year. And, this amounts to $6 million. Yes, my math is okay. There'll be a little time to do it on the calculator. No, I didn't need it that much on this one. But the notable coaches at FIU include donstrock, mariocristobal, Isaiah Thomas, actually in basketball, and Tyhilton play there. So, here's the thing, I think this is pretty cool when you think about it. I mean, the rapper, singer, and businessman is also known as Armandochristianperez, a.k.a. Mr. 305. So if you're going to put your name anywhere, Coach, what do you think about putting it on a stadium? $1.2 million falls into that TV show called The Price is Right. And actually, that's not a bad stadium down in Southwest Miami. But, $1.2 million, put it on there. I could tell you, I might be able to sell some people on some stadiums out here. I want to mention one thing. There used to be a naming rights here at FAU called the Geo Group. But the problem was that why they took that down, it was the name of a prison, so they had to get that thing down. But this is a little different. It really was. I'm not kidding with you on that. It really was. And they ended up, that deal didn't really last long. Coach, what are your thoughts about Pitbull Stadium?
Well, whatever you got to do to get the money, right? I mean, these schools, especially that lower tier that are not in the, what we call the Power Four now. I mean, they need to do whatever they can do to generate revenue. So, good for them. It's a creative idea, and good for Pitbull. I don't know that he necessarily needs the notoriety, but it's a nice little philanthropic for him to be able to give back.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I'm actually titling a show for this thing. Pitbull Stadium, for real? I mean, think about it. We're talking about a rapper singer that actually put his name on a building for $1.2 million. That's not bad money when you could know full well that it's on a stadium. For all you restaurants out there that want to put your name on and the Price is Right, Bob Barker, and all the rest of them, that's a good way to go, isn't it, Mel? I think.
I mean, $1.2 million a year sounds pretty cheap. I mean, it's pretty ingenious, and it has to be it has to do wonders for his ego to be able to drive by there and see his name on that stadium. That's going to be nice, but $1.2 million seems to be kind of cheap. There's some people out there that should be questioning why they didn't jump at that opportunity to do it. Now, I guess, a lot of people aren't going to get the press. A lot of companies aren't going to get the press that Pitbull is getting because he is a international superstar as far as an artist is concerned. But I think it's great for obviously the university, and I think it's a great thing for him, and I think it'll be nice for both entities.
Okay, let's go to the chat room. Daniel Perry, Sports Highlights. Happy Tuesday. Hey, everyone. Glad to have you on, Daniel. Turbo Jet Jedem, okay, hi guys. D Lowe's, I'll tell you, this guy loves Monday programming. For those that you may have missed it, okay. Fire of Florida last night had a really good hockey theme to it. We're trying to get a lot of the major sports on there on different on different shows, and this one's worked out well because it leads to baseball. And Monday nights are turning into best night on South Florida Tribune. There, I said it. Don't worry, Tuesdays are good too. But we're glad you appreciate the programming. All right, Bo, Pitbull, what are your thoughts on it?
No, I mean, this makes sense. This guy prints money, so 1.2 mil a year is nothing for him anyway. And it's Mr. 305, right? So having one there in Miami makes sense. I mean, it's no Nelly trying to create Nellyville and buy a town, but, university works.
I like D Lowe's, okay, unless we get Candy to cover hot dog eating contest on Wednesday, like she always talks about. I haven't heard a show covering that yet. Oh, it's okay. Well, whatever. The fact that we're even mentioning it is that much better because nobody would pay attention to it. Okay, anyways, Travis, Pitbull.
Hey, that man, this is the new rap award. This is the new thing for the celebrities. The new thing for how much influence and how much money do you have? Do you own a team? Do you own a stadium? Do you own a bowl game, Mr. Snoop Dogg? Like where is your money? Like where is your notoriety at this point? This is the new war. But I also thought this was interesting to Mel's earlier point that this was pretty cheap for a stadium, right? To have a stadium rights deal, but also in addition to the deal, he gets to use the stadium 10 days out of the year. So for concerts or for whatever else down there, he also gets to have his Volai 305 vodka distributed throughout the venue as the exclusive vodka also. So in a college stadium. So that's basically free advertising. If you know anything about how Bubba Burgers, the burgers worked, they started giving those out at NASCAR events and football events. And that was a way of basically you're selling the burger, but you're also advertising it for people to buy it in grocery stores later. He's doing a lot like that. So he's going to make money on the vodka. He's going to have the stadium 10 days of the year to do his concerts and everything else. Yeah. He's making more than $1 million. This is a heck of an it's an L for FIU all day, but it's a win for Pitbull.
Well, I don't know. Travis, is it really an L for FIU knowing that let me tell you.
Man, so unserious. So unserious.
Well, wait a minute. Wait. Now we have a developing situation here. You're telling me that's an L for FIU? They couldn't get enough publicity to save their butt. They really could.
All publicity ain't great publicity. I can shake my booty for a few dollars, but that don't make it great.
Yeah, but in this situation, if you only knew what FIU was all about, it's good. I've been in that stadium before. Anything you can do to jumpstart any kind of attention to it is better than what they have. Seriously. I mean, listen, granted, this may not be Central Florida and far from it, but my God,
that's the real issue here is Travis is playing loyalties to his. He doesn't want anything.
I swear,
he doesn't want anything to put any shade on the Knights. I mean,
this has nothing to do with UCF. I swear it. I'm just saying, in the words of my mom, it ain't about how you get it. It ain't about what you get. It's about how you get it.
Where's the Homer graphic?
There you go. I don't know. Do you have it? You got all the creative stuff there. Come up with one. Listen, anything FIU can get would be good enough for them. I'm telling you. I've been to that place a lot of times. If you can put positive publicity in there, it's not like their football program is that great anyways. I mean, no, I've been there for the shulabowl, went down there, and when they built it, when it was like 20,000. But anything you could do to that stadium to get attention. Now, I will say, to Pitbull's credit, okay, now I'm the raging bull, okay, and when you don't like me, okay, so I understand there's a bull. I'm a USF bull because that's my alma mater. But let me tell you something. I will say it's a grand larceny of some kind because, they follow into one of my commandments. Thou shalt not overpay. They didn't overpay for this one. And folks, for all you people that want to know what the commandments are, we all know about the 10. Moses had them, but I'm going to give you a couple out there that you don't know because Moses wasn't alive in this ruthless, crazy, outrageous world, okay? Thou shalt not overpay, and thou shalt not get caught. Take that wherever you want to take it, okay? But definitely,
I feel like that second one there might kind of go against some of the other ones that were already in place. Just throwing that out there.
Hey, Bo, it probably did, but you know what? Come on, we're talking 2024. Seriously, I mean, Now, if you're driving in Georgia like I am, okay, and you're barreling through I-75 trying to get to Talladega, and then and you know what? I've never been nailed with a DUI, but I'll tell you one thing. When this guy saw me whipping through 3 lanes and he thought I was drunk, I asked the cop, does anybody ever get drunk on Diet Mountain Dew? I walked so straight you couldn't even draw a line that straight. And then the guy said, I'm homeless right now. I won't have a place in Alabama if you keep me out here. So let's get this thing over with and let's get off as cheap as I can. It's all right. I'll give you I'll give you a ticket for not changing lanes. And that's
there's a lot to unpack right there.
I know.
I don't care
So much.
Well,
I will throw out an olive branch to the FIU people, just to be clear. I didn't know that the stadium was only held about 20,000 people. I didn't know it was that small. So I'll give them. I'll pull back a little bit and say, I understand beggars can't be choosers. How about that? But
oh man,
inflation's hitting everybody, and that's weird that he still got it for 1.2 mil. That's balling on the budget right there for real.
Oh, thank you very much, Travis. A 20,000 seat stadium, and yeah, Bo, did I put a little out there for all these cops that are watching? Yeah, but you know, I just got a new vehicle, so I have a feeling I won't be able to speed in this thing. I won't want to.
I just like that Trav went ahead and just called it a Little League stadium.
Bro, that's a soccer stadium, man.
Yeah, but you know what? He's really not that far off. You know where they played before they ended up moving into this new place? They played at the Orange Bowl for a couple of years. And if you think seeing a crowd of 5,000 in a 70,000 seat stadium, then let's go to the Oakland A's and see how much they can even get over at the Oakland Coliseum, except for the last everybody. And I love subjects like this. We can blow it up. I can work up a sweat, and I can have everybody getting animated. And yes, I can talk about the commandments, maybe a couple which some do or don't know. But, you know, it is what it is. Okay. But we're not done with Pitbull, though, are we? No. Because according to Sportico, well, I think I own Barry Bloom. I think my buddy actually owns it. The University of Texas spent $2.3 million on an on-campus party to celebrate its entrance into the Southeastern Conference, including a performance fee by Pitbull. My God, I wonder where that name came from. The costs include $889,000. Okay, paid directly by the school's athletic department, plus another $339,000 for advertising. But let's not worry about this business, Neil, because we already dissected another one. Okay, I'm going to ask a football question this time. Okay, we'll start up at the top. Actually, there's 2 of them. How will Texas do in the ACC? And then I'll follow it up at who is the real UT, Texas or Tennessee? Travis, both questions at one time, please.
How will they do? Fine, I guess. Like I don't know. Yeah, honestly, yeah. At this point, it's going to probably take them a year or two just to get their footing, like anybody else who ever goes into the SEC. I think that would be unfair to have higher expectations, especially they don't get the money immediately, do they? Like it's a 1 or 2 year time frame before they actually start getting the increase in funds for recruiting and things of that nature, right?
Oh no, I'm just talking about the fact that this guy, it cost him $2.3 million.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, there'll be
it's
the
a party, man. It's a party, but
these colleges print money. These colleges print money like they're corporations. Man, I ain't worried about the money. It ain't mine. Like if I owe you $2.3 million, that we got a conversation. But sure, but for Texas, hey man, go ahead. These boosters you want to come to this school? Here's $1 million. Like, come on, 2.3. That's nothing. That's a great. That's a great party. I hope they enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they can imagine.
But how would they do in the SEC? Honestly, if you're talking, if you're talking early on, it's going to take them a few years. But Texas is overall, they're such a great program, and they're going to always have that hometown recruiting edge that you have to assume that they'll be a solid university. I just don't know that they're going to be, one of the top teams in the conference. I'm sure I'm not going to go that crazy.
You're playing a championship game every week in that school. All right. So the second part of the question is who's the real UT, University of Texas or Tennessee?
I mean, I still think it's Texas. I think it's going to be Texas, frankly, until Tennessee. I don't even know what Tennessee is going to have to do to make it not be Texas for me, because when I hear UT, that's immediately where I go. And it could be simply because I think that there's a seniority over, the state of Texas over the state of Tennessee. And again, whether you're talking recruiting, you're talking size, you're talking the history of the states, whatever you want to call it. Tennessee's not known for a lot. They have great cities, but the state in and of itself is just not it doesn't carry that weight. So maybe I'm biased in that way. That
I don't care. That's a good point. Everybody's going to make a good point on this show. So you're giving University of Texas as a real UT in that conference. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, Mel, what do you think? You know the two questions. You've heard all the information. $2.3 million for a party to go to a conference where obviously, every week is going to be a gray hair moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think Texas is probably going to come in a little overconfident with some of the success that they've had just playing Alabama the last couple of years. And they'll realize that the gauntlet of the SEC is much different than it was in the Big 12, because week in and week out, it's going to be a headache drill. You're going to have to buckle up your chin strap. It's going to have to be tight. You're going to have to be ready to go every week, not just once every two or 3 weeks or once every 4 weeks. It's every week. You're going to have to be ready to go, because whether it's Arkansas, whether it's Ole Miss, whether it's Mississippi State.
I wonder what that is. All right, well, do the best we can. Keep going. Now, video frozen for me. Okay, that didn't come from Culver's and the Culver's ice cream, although I'm getting hungry thinking about it. All right, Mel, we'll come back to you in a moment. All right. So, Bo, Mel, you ready to go? Or
yeah, he's totally frozen.
I think that was Mel that froze. That sound.
Are you in the? Are you in the? That's okay. Well, when Mel comes out of the freezer, we'll let him pick it up. Meanwhile, Bo, the crux of the question: $2.3 million, a pretty good party, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, $2.3 million for a university is nothing. That is a rounding error for most of these colleges. So I don't really think that's going to be, in effect at all. I do think that they start getting some of their money this coming year. I know they don't get all of it, but I think they do start getting some of it. That being said, I think they're going to be fine, right? Like, they will probably be a playoff team. I don't know that they'll have the record they had last year, but at the same time, they're one of the teams that brought the most people back. So, I mean, if there was ever a team that was going to make a run, that is one of them. And then as far as the real UT, yeah, I would go with Texas also.
Okay. Sounds good. Coach Bono?
Man, a lot of really good points, and some that I was going to make. I think Texas has so many resources, both financially, recruiting base, facility, tradition, all of those things. It's an unbelievable place. It's going to be a lot different, I think, in the SEC than the Big 12, which was a conference. Let's be truthful. I mean, they didn't dominate it. It's not like, they weren't you can't say they were the Alabama of the Big 12, right? I mean, it's not like they won it every single year. So that's always kind of been my thing with Texas, is they tend to underperform or, play down to their competition. So I think there's going to be some adjustment there. Certainly talent-wise, recruiting-wise, facility-wise, they belong in that conference, and they make the conference a better league. I just don't think that they'll come in and dominate. And like to Mel's point, they have to be ready to go every single week in that league, especially now. Who's the real UT? To me, it's Texas. And look, I'm not an anti-Texas, because look, I've been there, been an opponent in that place, and it's really, there are not many places that you can say are definitively better if you're a college football player or fan than to be in that stadium on a game day.
Okay, here's my take on the whole thing. Number one, I had it as a topic on the Sports Exchange actually a couple of weeks ago. So I have a little more insight on this than you guys did. But number one, $2.3 million going to that conference. Yeah, you better have a lot of booze, because by the time you wake up, you're going to be hungover really quickly. That's for sure. Realize how much better the competition is there. And that's not how I think they're going to do. I think they're going to face the same fate that Nebraska and Penn State did when they joined the Big Ten. It isn't going to be as easy as it looks, and you're going to find yourself not at the high top of every conference as you were in the past. So humble pie comes into play, but they'll be competitive, and I think they'll do fine. And as far as the real UT, the SEC has said that Tennessee will be the real UT, and that Texas will be UTEX, as in TEX. That's what SEC's conclusion is on the whole thing. So, I still believe it's Texas as a real UT, if for no other reason, the fact that they're one of the top 10 winningest programs in the country, and that carries a lot of weight with me. To the chat room, Candy, all right, let's go ahead. All right, Turbo Jet Bottom, or whatever his name is, he changes his name all the way, that he's giving me a first-class eye test. All right, so let's go back to it. Good point, Travis. Good question for Travis. If Venmo you $2, will you shake your body asking for a friend? I have no idea what this guy's talking about. Do you?
Dollar
No.
bills, yo.
Yeah, all right.
Oh,
I don't know.
man.
Don't worry about it. Okay, yeah, there you go. Almost good enough. All right, Scott drunk on Diet Mountain Dew. No, that was earlier. I actually tamed it down to Sprite, so afterward with it. All right, let's go to Joshua Dora. Bowood, did you end up having for breakfast today? Are you stupid?
Coffee.
Coffee? All right. So I guess Joshua being his needy self is okay. He's been far more malicious. UT equals University of Tampa. You know what the name is? The University of Tampa Spartans. University of T is University of Texas. Of course, he lives there, so I can see why he's drinking the Kool-Aid. And Joshua Dormel has the precious background. Everybody else has to take note. Okay, yeah, well, Mel isn't quite. He kind of left us a little bit here, so I know what the background is at the moment. And all I know is that I'm going in for a hearing test, and that background didn't do me any favors on it. What's the noise killing my ears? Okay, Joshua Dor. Damn right if I compliment his setup. Of course I should. All right, hello, guys. Will the real UT please stand up? Travis said he'd shake his, or whatever. I spoke to Bo earlier. Okay, and he didn't have breakfast. All right, whatever. All right, so all the you-know-what is off the you-know-what. Okay, so we're going to go out there and take a you-know-what, and that's called a station break. So hopefully we'll get Mel back on, and then we'll be able to proceed from there. Otherwise, the show goes on. Our next segment is going to be the Coach's Focus. That's a new segment appearing tonight. Go ahead, Candy.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by the South Florida Tribune, which published its first book back in November called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, written by none other than Scott Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. The foreword was written by George Eichhorn. It is available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Google, and Apple Books. Get your copy today. It talks about Scott's 40-plus years in the media and how it has changed over those years. It does actually include a couple of pictures. A young Muhammad Ali with Scott, a younger Tommy Lasorda with Scott. Go get your copy today. You can also go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can read all of the great content that we get. We also have Scott writing I Take Pictures. There is actually a link for the book, and there is actually a link for our store merchandise where you can get South Florida Tribune merchandise. You need a new sweatshirt or a t-shirt or shorts with our logo on it. Go to our store, go to our website, go to the store, and purchase something today. If you'd like to listen to podcasts, we're out there wherever you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, Spotify. Monday nights we talk hockey on Fire Up Florida, and we talk baseball. Tuesday nights we talk football. Wednesday and Thursday nights you just never know what we might be talking about. And in reference to the comment earlier, Candy talked about hot dog eating contest. Yes, we talked about it on our July 3rd episode of Sports Exchange. So we have talked about it on the platform. Go back and listen to the show if you didn't miss it the first time. If you'd like to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you have show ideas, you can always email us, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle, or X, is @TribuneSouth. Back to you, Scott.
Well done. And I know Mel is back, so I'm going to give him an opportunity to answer the question, and then we'll go on to the Coach's Focus. All right, welcome back, Mel.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but what I was saying is, I think that Texas is going to do fine in the SEC. I think they will come in a little bit overconfident, but I think that they're going to find out that it's going to be a dogfight week in and week out.
Right.
Now, as far as who the real UT is, that's a great question, Scott. I never really thought about that much.
I didn't either until it was presented to me a few weeks ago.
And they're kind of like the same colors too, huh?
Yeah, well, that's true. They got, so you got orange and tea. Okay, go figure.
You got burnt orange, and what's Tennessee? What color orange is that?
Isn't one of them a bright orange, like a popsicle orange? It almost looks
Chester
like.
Cheeto.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Well, I guess they're just going to have to fight it out on the field to see who the real UT is, right?
That's right.
Yeah, but we want to know your opinion. We know about the field.
Steve Spurrier always said you couldn't spell citrus without UT. So I guess it's Tennessee.
Well, you know what, Mel, with all due respect, the SEC acknowledge it is Tennessee because they obviously have been there longer, and that Texas is a new kid on the block. So you're really not that far off. All right, we're going to introduce a new segment today called Coach's Focus. Tonight, it'll be the kickoff rule. So Coach is going to explain it, and then everybody else, after he's done explaining his kickoff rule, then everybody can go ahead and ask some questions in the chat room as well. I know we can go from there. So I know Travis got me rolling on the floor or whatever. I'm not sure what these acronyms are. It's English, man. I'm not. Who do you think I am? ROFTL, rolling on the floor.
Rolling on the floor.
Is that what that is? I don't know.
Rolling on the floor laughing.
Yeah, is that what that is? Okay. You got me there. All right. So anyways, Coach, take it away. You can explain the new kickoff rule while I try to figure out what these acronyms are. Serious.
Thanks, Scott. Well, first of all, I don't want to disappoint you, but I'm not really going to talk about the rule itself. I really think that, if you watch the Hall of Fame game, what you witnessed really was a historic moment in our game. It's a significant change away from, something that's been tradition for a very long time. I applaud the league in terms of, for a lot of reasons, honestly, I applaud them for not eliminating the play, because that scaringly enough is one of the alternatives and what had been talked about. There had been a lot of really outside the box ideas and things put forward over the past half decade or more. We've made a lot of changes to the rules to help make the game safer for the players, which I've always been in favor of. I think anything that keeps it safer for the men that play the game is very important. Basically, when you look at the play now, what we've taken out is really the first 30 yards of sprinting. We've put the coverage team relatively probably within 10 yards of where the ball they would typically be if they were covering a kick when the ball was caught. All right. We're putting the front line or the receiving team, 9 of them, because they have to have 2 players deep, right, to receive the kick. We put 9 of them within 5 yards of the coverage team. So in doing that, they've taken out the long sprint, the high speed collisions that used to happen with this play. What they've done also in making it, increasing the penalty on the touchback, because now if the kicking team puts the ball in the end zone, it comes out to the 30-yard line, which most coaches would consider that very good starting field position. On a kickoff return, we always considered if we got to the 30-yard line, we did a very good job. So, by increasing that penalty, they've incentivized the return part of it. The kicking team has to kick a ball down there that can be returned, and now it becomes a relevant play again. When we look at the Super Bowl last year, there were 11 kickoffs. Every single one of them were touchbacks. That's not a relevant play now. Now the ball's being advanced. It's being returned. So, yeah, we lose the onside kick. That's an unfortunate trade-off for this. But, we still have there's still going to be possession errors. There's going to be forced fumbles. There's going to be big returns. And so we do give and there is some give and take, but I believe that overall this is a win. I know that there'll still be things that have to fine tune. I'm anxious to see, what people do scheme wise. And, early on, first game, you're seeing man schemes, matchup schemes, which is, really your starting point for any season. You always, that's kind of your first thing that you put in. But I'm anxious to see what some of my former colleagues are able to come up with as the season progresses. But really, what we've witnessed in that Hall of Fame game was a first. It was a historic event for our game.
Okay. All right, chat room real quick. Turbo Jedam says, I like the new rule to reduce injuries, I think. And then he follows up with, I think, reduce running on kickoff. They should make the regular season 25 games. No, let's see if we can get it to 18 first. And then we'll talk. Remember one thing, Turbo Jedam, it's not your body that's getting hammered. It's theirs any more than you want to come on the air. But although I got to give you credit, Turbo Jedam, you've come a long way since I got to know you on this platform or any other platform. Yeah, I think they're going to get to 18 and long before they're getting to 25. And if they get to 25, I'll be long gone in the eyes of Ernie Harwell. Okay. So, Travis, any reaction to that?
I mean, if they get to 25 games, this is already flag football. Like, it's a wrap. Yes, that's a fine season for a flag football season, sure. But overall, yeah, I understand exactly why everyone feels the way they feel about the new kickoff rule, especially if you saw the Hall of Fame game. Most of the returns went from around 20 yards to, I think the longest one was just 31. But the starting position ended up being farther ahead than in previous years because you're not getting those additional yards on the return that you're running in the end zone when you're running those old ones out. So I get that piece of it also. But coach, the coaching for the Rams said it this past week. He was just basically like it was weird. It was a weird, like he feels weird about it still, even after the first game. And to Coach Bono's point, I understand why too. Like. Most of what you're seeing you're watching man schemes on the returns. You're not watching trap blocks. You're not watching zone blocks. You're not watching folds. You're not watching any of these run schemes that you would normally see on this new kickoff rule because they have a lot of different schemes that we just haven't seen because we're going on this small sample size. And I think everybody's kind of just waiting to see that one explosive kickoff return. That's all it's going to take. You get that first 40 yards, 50 yards, or taking it all the way back return, and everybody's going to be like, all right, this is cool now. But I think we're looking for a proof of concept, and no one's really seen it in the league just yet. So we're all kind of just, I don't like new. I want the old thing until we see that new thing come.
Well, that's a good answer. I like what you have to say. All right, Bo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, it was it was unique, and of course, because this was the first live game of it, there was. It was a very vanilla look at it, right? They're trying to make sure that people aren't moving before they're supposed to or jumping off sides or anything like that. So you weren't going to see anything crazy in the first iteration of it. I was a little bit surprised that the return team was immediately retreating because even if you would have just stood up blocked, your guys would have had another 5 to 7 yards. Right? Because it's not like they're coming at you full blast. So if you're doing man scheme, you didn't need to retreat 10 yards. Like that didn't really make a lot of sense. That being said, I think mostly from a coaching standpoint, they were just trying to make sure that people weren't moving before the ball was caught, stuff like that. So I would imagine over the first, obviously through the preseason, but really through the first 6 to 7 weeks is when we're going to start to see teams really explore what it is they're allowed to do. So I'm kind of excited to see how that evolves because the kicking game really hasn't been anything for a number of years. And to see some returns has been awesome. And to Bono's point, the surprise onside kick obviously goes away. And the onside kick kind of goes away until the fourth quarter and you have to be behind. Like it's goofy how you can even do it. But if it means that they didn't eliminate a special teams play, I like it.
All right, you know what? And I just want to make this very clear now. next week's coach's focus will be on that onside kick to the fourth quarter as well. So I'm glad you brought it, because now I know that it is what it is. And we'll focus on it, get it up. But that'll be, you guys read my mind, and it will be part of your Coach Bono, your coach's focus next week, the onside kick.
Yeah.
All right, well, go ahead, Mel.
Well, I'm glad they kept the play in, and I'm glad they did change the play. For a person who spent his life in the wedge, I can have a great appreciation for that, especially when there was, you have a wedge and then they have wedge busters. And the wedge busters were always real big guys. They're about 6'5", 6'6", about 290, and they could run, and their only responsibility was to blow up the wedge. And when you're a guy my size, 6'1", 220, 230, against 6'6", 290, who do you think is going to win? I mean, you either have to speed up to match that force, or, you have to get creative as far as how you go about attacking that person who's coming down there to blow up the wedge. So I'm glad they were to keep the play. I mean, you think about it, will Gale Sayers be in the Hall of Fame without that play? At one time, some of the best players played on special teams, and particularly in the return game. It's going to take that coach who thinks outside of the box a little bit, kind of like a Frank Gans, to really study this and understand it, to be able to see where the opportunities lie in this play, because there's opportunities there. People may not like it, whatever. It is what it is. This is what it is. You got to figure it out. And you got to figure out a way that you can maximize and take advantage of this play where, everybody else is going to be playing catch up when you figure this thing out, because there's opportunities there to break along with, because I don't think there's those layers to the defense where you have to, once you break that first wave, it might be off to the races. I don't know. So we'll just have to see.
All right, here's the thing. Number one, okay, covering baseball as often as I do, they've had a lot of rule changes the last several years of what they've had. And whether it's the ghost runner, whether it's the large of the bases, the pitch clock or whatever. And Don Mattingly once told me whether we like the changes or not, they're going to be there to deal with it, is pretty much what he's told us. Okay. And Don Mattingly, I won't make no kid around. He's, the greatest manager I've ever worked with, but an even better friend. I guess, again, we only saw one preseason game, a shortened Hall of Fame game, mind you, which ended in the third quarter because of inclement weather. We'll get a much bigger version of it, but I'm curious to see how it plays out. So, Coach, let me ask you one question before we move on to the next topic, and that's this. Just say, hypothetically, you were coaching special teams now. How would you react to the rule change in the present, okay, instead of evaluating it now that you're in the broadcasting business?
How would I react to? I mean, obviously you're looking at everything in terms of like body types. To Mel's point, which is a great observation, you have to figure out how you're going to create layers in your coverage. All right, because you don't want to have everybody on one level where if you do get creased. I think there's a lot of experimentation that needs to go on in terms of like, if you're going to double team and trap, I mean, there's not a lot of room. There's not a lot of time. The one thing that this play did was take away the advantage of hang time. The hang time is inconsequential now because the coverage and the return team doesn't start until the ball's caught. So there's no difference between a 4.3 hang time and a 3.4 hang time. There's no advantage whatsoever. That's the question you ask is like one that's, it's kind of, it would be a total like examination from start to finish and with some experimentation. But, there are things that you do know about covering kicks in terms of, things that we used to teach, now basically everybody you're starting off in what we used to call the 2-gap zone, or the area on the field where relative where the ball was, I didn't have the luxury to try to run around the block, unless the blocker's just way out of position. The guys have to use their hands. They've got to be able to, engage that blocker, create separation, and then shed to go make plays. So they, those things, that part of it, that's really no different. You know, you've always had to teach those things. So it's more about, I think, how you structure that unit and what athletes are using where, and then, you know, again, how do you get the levels in your coverage? How do you create those?
Yeah, I like the fact that you really put that perspective. All right, so Turbo says, is college changing to this kickoff style as well? I don't know about that one.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Let's let the NFL get to a second season of it. The NFL is, I mean, right now they're only on a probationary system. So if they figure out that the injuries go down significantly and it actually starts working out where they start getting those explosive plays late in the season, you can see college maybe going to that in 2 or 3 years or something.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. That's a good question too, because we all know that during the offseason for the NFL, the United Football League trying different rules out as well, and they'll cherry pick and see which ones work. But this is an interesting call. So I like the.
You know what? There was one thing that happened late in that game. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but the rule, the way they initially presented it, was if there was wind, right, that the kicker could bring the like the wizard tee out to hold the ball on the tee. But then it was going to be the responsibility of one of the officials to pick it up, right, and then make sure it gets off the field or isn't left on the field. And so they're using the Hall of Fame in the preseason to experiment, because if you notice, they did late in the game, they had a kickoff and they brought the 12th player on the field, which is another thing that they're actually I ran into my friend Perry Fuel when I was in Jacksonville during OTAs. Perry's working for the league office and he oversees all the officials. And we were talking about that exact scenario. So I think they snuck that in there. Not a lot of people probably noticed it, but they, that was something that they wanted to obviously clearly look at as an alternative to, because they don't really want the official having to take his eyes off the play.
And there wasn't significant wind out there, was it? So they were just trying that?
No, they're just trying to. Yeah, they wanted to get the mechanics of it. No,
gotcha.
Exactly
I did notice that. And I think they talked about it briefly a little bit.
Yeah, they said there's the 12th guy, and he had to report, and then he, once the ball's kicked, he has to beeline straight off the sideline.
Right.
Wow, that's interesting. Like we all know, we're all looking forward to see a bigger sample size, and there's no question we're going to get it soon enough. And now you'll have the allotment of games when the actual preseason starts. Next week, we'll get into whether or not these actual practices are becoming a little bit more trouble than they're worth. Not talking about that tonight. Not QBs in new places. Sam Darnold goes to Minnesota. Carson Wentz goes to Kansas City. I think they're totally opposite of one another. Sam Darnold has a chance to win the starting job to give J.J. McCarthy some time to grow. Carson Wentz, guess what? Nothing like being number 2 behind Patrick Mahomes, and you have all these different elite number 1 and 2 players, in new cities. So, all right, Travis, what are your thoughts about first Sam Darnold in Minnesota and then Carson Wentz in Kansas City?
I don't know that I have many great thoughts about Sam Darnold.
Okay.
I don't mean that as a knock. I'm just keeping it 100. I don't generally think about Sam Darnold. And now that he has an opportunity to potentially start, praying for y'all in Minnesota. I don't know. That's not a great situation for the fan base. I'll say it that way. But nevertheless, it kind of is what it is. For Carson Wentz, that's a great situation for him, obviously, because that's the old Chad Henne role, where you can be the backup to a mutant who rarely ever misses time and wins a boatload of games, and you can just be a legend at the bank collecting paychecks. That is a great spot, Mr. Carson Wentz. Cash those checks, get those rings. But again, Sam Darnold, if he's your starting quarterback, that stinks, and he potentially could be.
Yeah, I like the Chad Henne comparison, and you and I, with Jacksonville ties, know that Chad Henne had a decent career with the Jaguars, but boy, once he got over to Kansas City, you couldn't ask for a better insurance policy than Chad Henne. Speaking with another guy that was up in Jacksonville, coach, okay, you have 2 quarterbacks. how do you size them in their respective places?
Yeah, I think Travis did an outstanding job of outlining this. I think, Sam Darnold's job is to function until JJ's ready. And you hope for the Vikings that that's sooner than later. He's a stopgap guy. And then, yeah, I like Carson Wentz. That'd be a great role for him in Kansas City. All right. Nothing really more to add.
All right. Flip it over to Bo.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think everybody can pretty much agree that this is a stopgap role for Darnold. One thing that's good for Darnold it is a way that if he can ball out there, because this will be one of the better teams he's played for, that as far as a starting role, he has a chance to do something. So he can at least put out some decent tape in theory. We'll see, but he's a stopgap guy for sure. He's there until JJ's ready. And then Carson Wentz, he's definitely one of those guys that can go win you a game if his number gets called.
Right.
So, I mean, he's good enough to do that. I wouldn't want him as my starter. Fortunately for them, he doesn't need to be.
Wait, Bo,
Now-
are you saying that Sam Darnold's going to be Baker Mayfield?
I don't hold Baker Mayfield in high esteem, so I mean, we can go that route, sure.
Okay.
No, I mean,
Okay.
like he has an opportunity there because that Minnesota defense really came on as the season went last year, became a decent defense. He has some weapons. Their offensive line isn't horrendous, right? So, and when you look at where he's been before, it's not like he had good teams. So, I mean, he has the opportunity to play with a decent cast around him. I think he could throw out some good tape. Now, do I think he is your starter anywhere? No, I don't. I think the bus has passed on that one. But this is his opportunity to stay in the league, I think, more than anything.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good. I enjoy it. All right, Mel, what do you think? You've had time to listen to the rest of them, and then I'll close this segment out. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been real high on Sam Darnold coming out of college. I never really saw what everybody else saw. Again, I'm not an NFL talent evaluator. I'm just going with my own eyeball test, and I never really saw what everybody else saw in Sam Darnold, I guess. And there's still people out there, who Sam still has people out there who believe in him. He still has not proved that he cannot play. To every team out there, and that's why he's going to get this opportunity to start with Minnesota. Minnesota's in trouble. I mean, I don't know if Sam Darnold's been able to stay healthy throughout an entire season. We'll find out. He's still young. I think he's only 27, 28 years old, so he's still young. You would think, as much as his name has been tossed around, that he's like 32 or 33 years old, but he's still a young guy. But at the end of the day, he really can't play the position, in my opinion. And so if they have to go to JJ McCarthy, that's tough too, because he didn't throw the ball that much. So again, I think he was a reach as far as a first round draft pick. He may have some athleticism and stuff like that. He may be able to make all the throws, which I don't know what that means. If you can make all the throws in 7-on-7, or if you can make all the throws in just 1-on-1, that's great. But can you read defenses? Can you process information quickly? And can you deliver the football on time?
Right.
That's playing the position. I haven't seen him do that yet. So we'll have to see. Carson Wentz, if he has to play, that's trouble for Kansas City. He can't stay healthy, and he's a turnover machine. So hopefully he'll get an opportunity to earn another Super Bowl ring if Kansas City's able to three-peat, and doing it the same way he earned his first Super Bowl ring and sitting on the bench. That'd be the best case scenario for everybody in Kansas City, for him, the fans in Kansas City, and probably the league.
All right. The only thing I'll say about Sam Darnold, I don't blame him for what happened in New York, because they can't keep a quarterback anyways. Number one, the Jets, I'm speaking. Number two, of course, Charlotte was a bad situation. So, you know what? We all know he's going to be a bridge quarterback anyways. And as Bo alluded to, if you could get some tape and somebody will believe in you. But if there's one guy that I do believe can fix him a little bit, it's Kevin O'Connell. I really do. He's a good quarterback and a good offensive mind, so I'm not putting anything there. As for Carson Wentz, well, you know what? I got to ride with Travis. Okay, if you want to put him in another Chad Henne category, I'm totally okay with that. As far as winning another Super Bowl ring, at least he knows he can be content being a backup to Patrick Mahomes. So nothing to feel bad about there, and Andy Reid as well. All right, well, you know what? Who knows how many of us will get to this number? A happy 99th birthday to Marv Levy, who recently had that birthday over the weekend. Now, I'm going to give you guys a story about my dealings with Marv Levy at Super Bowl 43. I met over at an event. I don't remember which one it was. It doesn't matter. I met Coach Levy. And I brought up to him that thing called the wing T offense. Now, when I started talking to Coach Levy, and that was an offense that he ran in 1978 with the Kansas City Chiefs. He walks up to me and says, Scott, because, at that point we're wearing badges too, as well as mention our name. You go to these things, Coach, you have a badge, they all know who you are. It's pretty cool stuff, And he says, Scott, I can't believe that you even remember that offense. I said, come on, Coach, really? I mean, I didn't say the word really because, I wasn't that animated in front of 9 million people. That aged with me after a while. I said, Coach, what's there not to understand about the greatest game being played? I remember that offense. He was impressed. So with that said, Coach Marv Levy, happy 99. And I'll tell you, Coach Levy, if you've ever met the guy, is one of the nicest people you can ever imagine. And he is the Buffalo Bills. And he had those great teams where they made it Super Bowl 4 times. Unfortunately, they didn't come away with one win. And the one win they had a chance was decided by a field goal. So with that said, okay, 99 years old, Coach Levy. What do you think, Trav?
I mean, I got no real thoughts on that other than, happy birthday. 99 years old. That's dope. I mean, you were already winning life. Let's call that what it is. Marv, you're nearly 100 years old. I mean, you're one more year from being 100 years old. You're in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You've been a GM. You've been a top coach. The only thing he was missing was that Super Bowl championship, unfortunately, those opportunities with the Bears. But, hey, man, you're winning life. Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Mel?
Yeah, 99 trips around the sun. That's a blessing. I can only hope to match that. That's truly a blessing. He's had a tremendous life. Obviously, he's a tremendous coach, a tremendous leader of men, and hoping he has many, many more.
Okay. Coach.
Happy birthday to Coach Levy. Incredibly sharp, very, very. Had the privilege of meeting him a couple times. Unbelievable memory, unbelievable mental capacity. You mentioned the wing T offense. I think of like Coach Tubby Rabin, the Delaware Blue Hens, the Delaware wing T offense. So, 99 years. That's a long time.
Let me tell you, I called him Coach Levy. When I met the owner, Ralph Wilson, who's from the Detroit area, I called him by Mr. Wilson. He was really nice to me. You think I could call Ralph Wilson at his age, Ralph? Heck no. Mr. Wilson's good enough for me, okay? And, I have to credit the Wilson family. His wife has done a good job fixing up Niagara Falls on the New York side. They've dumped a lot of money into that. That's a little tourist thing I wanted to add. But Coach Levy, God bless, and I enjoyed my opportunity to meet you. You're a class act, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, not really much to add here. 99 years is it's quite the benchmark, and I mean the guy's done it all. So pretty awesome, and I would have to imagine he hits that century mark.
Well, the guy looks in fantastic shape. I hope so. I'd like to be wishing him a year from now 100, happy 100. And no disrespect toward politics, but Jimmy Carter is not former President. Jimmy Carter will turn 100 in October. And I don't mean to talk politics. Let's face it. He's not that far away either. But Coach Levy, you know what? You're everything that's good about football in general. Because not only did he do well in the NFL, he was very well known in the Canadian Football League as well. So he had a pretty good run up north of the border as well as south of the border. All right, final topic of the day, which is obviously we know where Coach Levy is anyways. The Pro Football Hall of Fame announced the 2024 class and welcome Julius Peppers, Andre Johnson, devinhester, Dwight-Freeney, Patrick Willis, Randy Granishar, and Steve McMichael. Now, Granishar and McMichael make it in the seniors category. I'm going to start with you, Coach. what names stand out amongst this group? I know we'd like to say they all do, but give me 2 or 3 that stand out in this group, Coach.
Well, I'd say number one for me is devinhester.
Okay.
Just from personal experience, coaching against him, had a chance to work with him his rookie year at the Pro Bowl. And just the fact that, going in as a return man is, just hasn't happened. So very, very happy to see that one. All the rest of these guys, very, very much deserving.
Okay. All right, Bo, you want to go ahead and?
No, I got to jump out. I got to grab a phone call. So.
All right, no problem. Well, good having you. At least why don't you leave everybody your contact information, how they get a hold of you?
Yes. You can find me on YouTube right there on the screen at football-talk. All of the social medias, Football Talk with Bo, and of course, Roku 5 days a week.
All right. See you next Tuesday, Bo. Thanks for being on. Thank you.
Take it easy, guys.
Appreciate it. You bet. All right. So with that said, that leaves you, Mel.
Yeah, I think along with Coach, I think devinhester stands out, but also, McMichael. I know he was, he was really wanting this, and I was glad to see it happen for him, and I'm glad to see that he was able to get his flowers while he's still able to receive them and appreciate them, and people are able to love on him and appreciate him and show their appreciation for him, because it's obviously the last number of years have been extremely difficult for him and his family. So I think it was very nice for him to have the opportunity to go in and the way in which he went in. Even though I didn't watch it, but I read about all the players being there for him. I think that's really nice.
And was there any other one that stood out to you as well? Yeah, do you have 2 listed? You want to add a third or not?
I didn't watch it. I'll be honest, it's probably like the first time in forever that I haven't watched it. So I don't have much.
Right. Don't worry about it. All right, Travis, go ahead.
I mean, overall, it's got to be mainly for me, devinhester. I mean, he's the guy who just kind of changed the way that teams had to approach kickoff returns, punt returns, all of that. Even though he couldn't necessarily make the splash impact generally as a receiver. And he's the guy who kind of played receiver and cornerback depending on the time you saw him in his career. It's kind of one of those things where I kind of respect it. Just you found that avenue. You made a way to make a huge impact on the game. Not only that, you did it to a Hall of Fame level. Like, that was dope. That was great. It was all kind of real awesome to see. And also as a student of the game in general, I enjoyed seeing Steve Atwater, just period. Like, I got excited about that one. Just Steve Atwater introduced Randy Gradishar. And I was like, oh, Atwater, I know that name. And I'm starting to Google him, starting to look him up. And I'm like, all right, yeah. That was the safety. I used to play with him on Super Tecmo Bowl, just all those things. Nostalgic for me. So I was happy about that piece. But overall, I mean, it's a real stat class. Like, that it's a pretty awesome class. A lot of the names from those days that if you play the game with the Colts or you watch the game with the Colts, Dwight Freeney, you know that name. Like, all these guys are like true impact players. It's awesome to see.
All right, the 2 I want to really rely on will be Andre Johnson. Once upon a time, the Detroit Lions had the chance to get him, but they opted with Charles Rogers. And I'll tell you, they'll be reminded of that mistake for a while. But at that time, though, Rogers was a local guy who had a heck of a career over at Michigan State. Then all of a sudden, when he got to the pros, it all went south. So Andre Johnson. And Andre Johnson reminds me of Leroy Selman, because you had a newer team, and he's one of your first picks ever, and he gets elected into the Hall of Fame like Tampa did when they had Leroy Selman, and he obviously became a member. The other one, how do you not say Steve McMichael? His wife Misty and their daughter were there to be part of the festivities. They brought it all back, and I'm glad he got in there while he was alive, and I hope and continue to say prayers he could stay around longer. But if he does go whenever it may be, at least the guy will know he's a Hall of Famer and he was able to enjoy it with some of his closest people. So, yeah, I mean, name a person. I can only imagine that when Steve McMichael's speech was given, however it was, if there wasn't a dry eye there, that's unbelievable. I'm really glad he gets in while he's alive instead of the other option. And again, Andre Johnson, if there was a third one that would stood out, you know what? How do you not go with Julius Peppers? Julius Peppers had a good career, but that's it. Travis, anything you want to add to this? I see I'm getting some interesting reactions from you. Let's pull him up and see what he's reacting to here.
You said Andre Johnson, and I was like, "That's right. That's the dude that beat up Cortland Finnegan." And that just makes me laugh again when I remember that fight they had on the field. That I can picture the whole fight, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, that man's in the Hall of Fame." That's just legend. You get into a full fist fight and beat somebody down on the field for being a pest. Hey man, that dude. So it just made me laugh, just like picturing it in my head.
Well, I'm glad. Hey, I'm glad that I made you laugh. I mean, come on. I thought the Commandments would have done it with 12 and it took Andre Johnson to do it.
It does not. That does not trump Cortland Finnegan just getting beat up on the field. That's it.
Well, remember, you're a Jacksonville Jaguar reporter anyway, so obviously the Jags saw the Texans enough to realize Andre Johnson. I don't know if you were covering it back then. If you didn't work with Dan Edwards, who's in the Hall of Fame of the Jaguars, and he belongs there anyways. Can't wait to see him and you and Coach Bono in the not so distant future. All right. That does conclude this edition. We don't have any time for parting shots, but that does conclude this edition of Inside the Picks. And so, with that said, why don't we let everybody know how they can reach him, Mel?
Hey, you can reach him on all social media at Mel Farr Jr. And follow what we have going on here in Georgia and also Michigan at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
And we'll go to you, Travis.
You can find all my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars at bigcatcountry.com. We have a podcast on Fridays, the Duval Diver Jaguars podcast, wherever you catch your podcast. Also, follow me on the socials, Travis D. Holmes, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, etc. You're obviously listening. So Inside the Pigskin every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Thank you for having me. Let's go.
Oh, we enjoy having everybody here. And Mo gave his information that leaves it to Coach Bono.
Yes, you can find me here on Tuesday nights. You can find me on Wednesday on Coach's Corner with Bo at 4:00 Eastern time, and then on LinkedIn. It's my only form of social media.
Okay, Candy, take it away.
This episode of Inside the Pigskin is brought to you by the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company, which published a book late last year in November called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Google, and Apple Books. It is written by none other than our moderator, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. And it features lots of stories, believe it or not, about Scott and his dealings in the media over the last 40 plus years and how things have changed. So go out, get your copy today. You can go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. We have a link to the book. We have all kinds of interesting articles, lots of football, especially this time of year. We have Jags, we have Dolphins, and we have Lions transcripts. So go over to the website, see what coaches are talking about, see what everybody's talking about. We also have, if you like college football here in Florida, we have stuff about the Gators, USF, FAU, and the Hurricanes. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can get us wherever you find your podcasts. Mondays, we talk hockey on Fire Up Florida, and we talk baseball on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Tuesday nights is football here on Inside the Pigskin. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you just never know what we're going to be talking about. We have Sports Exchange, and we have Fire Up. Then Scott also does one-on-one interviews on nofilter.net. You never know who you're going to hear him interview next. Check it out. If you see that red subscribe button, hit it, like us, share us, tell all your friends, tell anybody that you think might be interested in listening to all of or any of our great programming. Let me think. Oh, we have a store. Go get some merchandise. South Florida Tribune merchandise. It's available. There's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. If you would like to advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you have show ideas, you can always email us, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And our Twitter or X is @Tribune South. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you very much, Candy. Also, we just opened up a Motor City Madmouth page on Facebook. So Candy will be working diligently to try to get that store up there as well on our new Facebook page, the Motor City Madmouth at South Florida Tribune. And we'll also have the Motor City Madmouth, which I just created over the weekend. So, yeah, well, great show by you guys, Bo, Coach, Travis, Mel, and of course, Candy is our producer. So once again, thanks to and everybody in the chat room. So thanks for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pig-Pen, and we'll go out there and be ready to bring you some more information next Tuesday. So good night, everybody, and catch you next week.
Good night.